In case you're coming from different parts of the country, the entry points to this to the city, you will notice that there is ample security that has been provided and roadblocks probably to stop large groups of people coming towards the CBD. So keep yourself safe today, and please keep away from demonstrations. We've seen very many innocent people getting hurt as these things happen when the demonstrators engage the police. But we're going to pray that, you know, the day is going to be safe. The Lord is going to watch over you and keep you, because I believe that is very important. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for your goodness and for your mercy. We thank you for this day. This day is blessed because this is the day you have made, and we are going to rejoice and be glad in it. Father, as we go about our issues and our stuff, we ask you, Jehovah God, to garrison us with your grace and your mercies and your angels. And Father, we pray for sanity to prevail in our country today, as you know, the Gen Zs do what they said they were going to do. Keep them safe, keep the police safe, keep our country safe. Let only that which is reasonable happen in our country. We thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. We're going to start off by looking at some of the things that have happened in our country. You know, one of the things that the Gen Zs had demanded was, you know, the sacking of the entire cabinet. And that did happen. And then later on, the president appointed a new team of cabinet. And at the same time, in the team, he also put members of the Orange Democratic Party, or ODM. And they were vetted. And yesterday in Parliament, the report was tabled, and members of Parliament largely supported the report of the Select Committee on the vetting of the Cabinet Secretary nominees, discussing the experiences and performance in various ministries. Each Cabinet Secretary received approval from various MPs despite being tasked with working for Kenyans to achieve the government's agenda and President William Ruto's objectives. Some leaders have shown significant influence regarding the committee's report, which was presented to Parliament to approve and vet the appointed cabinet secretaries.
Kwanza kuchukua fursa hii kumpongeza rais wa taifa hili Mheshimiwa William Samoei Ruto kuweza kutuchukulia ndugu yetu wa Pwani Hassan Ali Joho kama waziri wa madini na uchumi samawati. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii ni wizara ambayo imeshika sana sehemu kubwa na uchumi mkubwa wa taifa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na mimi naamini kuwa huo weledi wake wa uongozi, vile tunavyomjua, ataweza kuhakikisha kuwa madini yanaleta faida kubwa sana katika taifa, na kuhakikisha kuwa wale watu wanaokaa sehemu ambayo tunatoa haya madini wanaweza kupata haki yao, Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mheshimiwa Spika, tunashukuru pia sisi kama wanawake 5 wameweza kupatiwa nyadhifa kubwa mbalimbali, na ni haki yetu sisi kama wanawake ya kusema ya kwamba tunashukuru. Tunashukuru pia vile tumeona kijana mmoja ambaye ameteuliwa katika wizara ya maji, ambapo tunajua sisi kama vijana pia hili jambo limekwenda kutufurahisha. Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi niko na mambo mawili tu kuambia wale mawaziri ambao wameteuliwa. Jambo la kwanza ni kwamba hatutaki watu wa yesa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Tunataka watu ambao wataketi na rais na kuweza kumwelezea rais na kuweza kumsaidia rais kwa sababu ya Kenya iweze kusonga mbele. Mheshimiwa Spika, hawa ni watu wenye ambao watakuwa kwa karibu sana na rais, na wao hawafai kuwa ni watu wa yesa. Wanafaa ni watu ambao wataweza kusaidia hii hali ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni onyo tu Mheshimiwa Spika ya kwamba wale mawaziri wengine wamekuwa ofisini miaka 2, na kwa sababu zisizoepukika wameweza kuachiliwa wengine. Hata wao hivi saizi wajue ya kwamba wanakwenda kupatiwa kazi, lakini Wakenya wako chonjo, na wasipofanya kazi yao vizuri, Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi kama Wakenya tunakwenda kuanguka na wao.
I would like to congratulate to single out CPA Bandi, being the cabinet nominee for the Ministry of Finance, as someone the Committee of Finance and National Planning will be closely working with. One of the issues that he raised is on the Finance Bill, Honorable Speaker, of 2024. And as we consider various ways of making sure that we have a predictable tax environment, this time around we need to separate the different statutes instead of doing the one omnibus finance bill, Honorable Speaker, that perhaps he and his team need to craft a tax procedures amendment bill, an income tax amendment bill, a VAT amendment bill, an exercise duty amendment bill, and miscellaneous and fees amendment bill, so that Kenyans have ample time to deliberate on these particular matters, because of course not many of the people are tax experts.
I do not want to belabor on the points that honorable members have already talked on or talked about, and one of them is what Honorable McLab said, that the CSAs who will be approved by this House will not be serving their communities or their regions, because
Of all the nominees that were presented, only one was rejected. All the rest were accepted. The one that was rejected as not having sufficient experience and knowledge of what she's supposed to do in her ministry was Stella Soi Langat, who had been proposed by the president for as the cabinet secretary for gender. The 19 other cabinet secretaries were approved.
And two, Honorable Speaker, rejects the appointment of Ms. Stella Soi Langat. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Shakil Shabir will go back to the order. And members, those members who want to speak to this motion, I told you we have less than 12 minutes. You may approach Honorable Mishi, you know what to discuss with her. Because at 12:42, I will be calling her to reply. Honorable Shabir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, 1 in every 4 Kenyans are probably suffering from mental health issues. We as Kenya has forgotten the issue of mental health. Actually, more than that, 1 of every 2 youths are struggling with mental-related problems. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have been sidestepping the issue of mental health. Mental health to us in Kenya has always been Matari, Tuma Matari, or that madman in the village. Mr. Speaker, sir, that there is a thin line between PhDs and...
As Parliament was busy doing its thing, President William Ruto visited Embu County and launched various development projects across the county. During the visit, the President told Embu residents that the nation that he has included in the opposition leaders in the government to help him run the country and collect taxes to further the country's development and fulfill his campaign promises.
Enda sijui wapi, wewe umeenda wapi? Wacha niwaeleze. Mimi nilienda China, nikakutana na rais wa China, akanipatia pesa, na kati ya hiyo pesa ni hii barabara yenu ya kutoka hapa Kanywambora kwenda Kamomo, kutoka Kamomo kwenda Kageri, na barabara ya kutoka hapa Kanywambora kwenda Muvakari. Leo vile vile, mbali na mambo ya barabara, mimi nimekuja hapa kwenu kwa shughuli ya mambo ya stima. Mimi najua ya kwamba wananchi wengi hawajapata stima. Si ni kweli jameni? Hata huyu mama anasema hajapata. Si ndio? Unaishi wapi mama? Irere. Irere Primary School. Haya wewe nani wapi mtu ya stima? Enda anza na huyu mama wa hii. Huyu enda anza na huyu mama sasa wewe mama kuja takuwekea stima. So mimi nimekuja hapa Mbeere North. Sawa sawa? Ili tuunganishe stima ya watu wa Mbeere North. Tumewapatia milioni 150 ya Mbeere North, milioni 500 ya Embu County. Ndio tuweke stima wananchi wengine 5,000 wapya katika awamu yetu ya kwanza, ili tuhakikishe ya kwamba wakati tunaunganisha stima Kenya, watu wa Embu wako katikati, watu wa Kanywambora wako pale. Tumeelewana? Ndio? So hiyo project vile vile imeanza, tunasukuma mbele kwa sababu tunataka wakulima wetu wapate maji, tuzalishe chakula. Ndio hii aibu ya njaa Kenya tuondoe. Tuwe na nchi ambayo tunaweza kuzalisha chakula ya kutosha, tujilishe, tujisimamie, ndio tuwe nchi ambayo iko na heshima. Tumeelewana jameni? Mbali na barabara na stima na maji, vile vile hapa tuko na damu kubwa inaitwa Kamomo. So mnajua hivyo? Na mimi nilikuja pale Kamumu nikiwa waziri wa kilimo na nikawaeleza kuna siku moja tutakuja kujenga hiyo damu. Sasa hiyo damu iko katika mipango yetu, tumekubaliana na huyu mjumbe wenu na tumekubaliana na gavana wenu ya kwamba tutaweka maji pale na tumekubaliana na viongozi wenu wote ya kwamba tunapanga. Mimi nataka muelewe ya kwamba tumesema tunataka kusomesha watoto wetu wote. Tumeweka pesa ya kutosha kuajiri walimu wengine 20,000 mwaka huu. Wale walikuwa wa JSS tumeweka pesa ya kuwapromote wakuwe permanent and pensionable. Kwa sababu elimu ndio inatuletea usawa. Mtoto wa tajiri na maskini wanakuwa sawa wakipata elimu. Sijui kama tunaelewana jameni. That is why we must have all our children in school and that is why we must have our teachers in school. Tumeelewana? Na mimi vile vile nataka niwaambie wazazi. Najua hapo mbeleni kumekuwa na matatizo hasa katika funding model mpya ya mambo ya university. Mimi nataka niwaambie watoto wetu wa university, tumeongeza pesa ya budget ya kwenda university. Ile kitu mimi nataka niulize wizara na wafanye kazi na wabunge, hata kama course yako ni 300,000, serikali ya Kenya itakulipia up to 95%. Kwa hivyo hakuna haja ya kuhangaika, tutahakikisha ya kwamba msifanye harambee. Serikali ya Kenya itatoa pesa ya kusomesha hawa watoto wetu wa university.
At the same time, the president condemned the anti-government protests that are planned for today, urging Kenyans to boycott them. Speaking in Embu, the president said the chaos resulting from these demonstrations are destroying property and disrupting the nation's development and economy. Young people across the country have been calling for support for the Nane protest, particularly on social media.
Si umoja ni nguvu jameni, na kutengana si ni udhaifu. Ndio nimesema tuunganishe Kenya, tupeleke Kenya mbele. And I want to tell the nation that as a country, as leaders and as a government, we are going to make sure that we unite the people of Kenya so that we can work together, so that we can plan together, so that we can ensure that we drive the development and transformation of Kenya together without leaving no community, without leaving no region, and without leaving no one behind. Sisi wote tuungane ndio tupeleke taifa letu la Kenya mbele. Tumekubaliana jameni? Tumekubaliana? Na mimi nataka niwaambie vile vile, tumekubaliana ya kwamba Kenya ni nchi ya demokrasia. Kenya ni nchi ya amani. Kenya ni nchi ambayo inafuata katiba na sheria. Hatutaki siasa ya fujo, hatutaki siasa ya maafa, hatutaki siasa ya kuharibu mali ya watu. Tunataka siasa ya kupanga vile Kenya itakuwa bora kuliko ilivyo sasa. Ama watu wa Embu mnasemaje? Mnasema tuendelee na amani na maendeleo ama mnataka watu watupangie fujo? Tuendelee na amani. Mnataka amani ama mnataka watu watuletee fujo? Mnataka amani? Wale wanakubaliana na mimi tuwe ni nchi ya amani, nione kwa mkono. Basi, kwa sababu tuko wengi viongozi hapa, niko na deputy wangu Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua awasalimie.
And talking about the protests that are expected today, yesterday was a rather interesting day as a gentleman who is now projecting himself as the leader of Gen Z, a gentleman called Kashmir Makoure, and his comrades responded to police summons ahead of the demonstrations today. Aure, alongside his supporters, condemned what they described as blunted police harassment and state intimidation. According to him, Inspector Karanga and his team impounded his car under strange condition and pursued him without relentlessly without any legal basis.
We have said this time without number that the reason why we will be marching on Nane will be for the dignity of our people. It will be for the restoration of sanity in this country. It will be to drain the corrupt swamp of politicians. As Kenyan youth, we will not cower. We've seen them disperse people assemblies. We've seen them send out heavy police and state equipment and machinery to try and intimidate us. But we are saying, Nane, kabla ya saa 8.
Thank you.
What we have witnessed today is a blatant disregard of the law, because as Comrade Buka showed up to the station, the charges were absolutely flimsy. We asked them, are they interested in arresting our comrade? They said no. What they told us is that what they have arrested is the car. You would think that as people who are supposed to be custodians of the law, that they would at least tow and impound the car under dignified conditions. But the car was deflated in the streets and then towed away. Who is going to bear the costs of repairs? They still expect it to be us to shoulder the burden. And that's why we are saying these intimidation tactics by the states will not work, because as the outgoing President William Ruto said, that people will not be abducted or forcefully disappeared, and they will act within the law. We are imploring this police force before we...
Well, the Kashmir gentleman you just watched, I think I've been around for a couple of decades. I've seen them come, I've seen them go. I can almost project where he's going. He's come, he's going to do all these things, and finally he'll end up in Parliament, because that's what he's targeting. But let's see how it goes, right? You never know where he's at. Let's take a look at some of the things that are happening in our dailies today. We start off with the Standard newspaper, which has the headline that screams out, "Cabinet to hit road after rubber stamp." And it says it was a smooth sail in Parliament for 19 cabinet nominees, in spite of hundreds of memoranda sent to MPs on their conduct and the pending court cases. John Badi or Pio Wandai even high-fived members when they walked in to bid farewell to the House. Tomorrow they will be sworn in amid the protest ruckus. And then you have the Nane civil servants put on notice. Government has warned public workers not to add fire to the demos by displaying opulence, as it cautioned them not to participate in the same. However, Gen Z youth say their march is still on. And then we also have, the Olympics games are going on. However, they sound so muffled, and mostly so when it comes to Kenya, because we've not been able to achieve that much. But we still have something we can hope for. The country's steeplechase future lies in small faith. Is this Faith Cherotich, also known to many as Small Faith, saved Kenya's blushes on what had appeared to be a disappointing outing for the athletics team by bagging bronze in the women's steeplechase finals inside the fully packed Stade de France yesterday. Well, there are a lot of things that are happening. Corruption, patriotism, and CBC take center, said in music festival. There was a time music festival was such a big thing. I think it's because of the kind of things that we're experiencing when it comes to politics, demonstrations and all that. There was a time it was really big. We would give it a lot of emphasis. And then you go to state ones, most of the major stories. Raila faces 3 contenders for African Union top job. Kenya, Djibouti, and Mauritius and Madagascar have offered a candidate each. I just hope that our man Raila Odinga is going to make it. I believe he has a major chance of becoming the next African Union chairman. And at least we have seen some of the works he has done in the country. He's been able to broadcast some sort of peace and tranquility by by making moves to stabilize the government. This could be some of the things that will go a long way in ensuring that he gets the position that he's looking for. And then the nation, Ruto-Raila deal faces litmus test. President William Ruto's broad-based government, in which he has co-opted ODM leader Raila Odinga, faces its first test today as the youth plot a fresh round of demos in their continued push for governance reforms. The president has once again warned the protesters to shun violence, while the US has waded into the matter. They're saying, tunachungulia na binoculars hivi tuone what you're going to do. Then we have intrigues in rejection of CS nominee, a threat by the Orange Democratic Movement to decline President William Ruto's entire offer for cabinet secretary led to the approval of former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya by the National Assembly on appointees. The nation can reveal, but Ms. Stella Langat, the gender CS nominee, became the only one of the 20 to be rejected after MPs yesterday voted to adopt a report by the committee. And then we have a project that is currently going on, and people who know about this project saying it's going to be a game changer in this region. I'm talking about the Dongo Kundu bypass, which opens up the south coast for business. It's going to be a game changer in that region, because accessing the place in the past was really difficult. It would take days, long hours, because the road was horrible. But right now, with the road being done, people will have great access to this place, and so a lot of trade is going to be open up. Noble Reprieve, a state admin's fuel levy hike, wiped away price drop at the pump. And then we have avoid violence at all costs. And I would urge the young people, I mean, I know it's your democratic right to go and demonstrate and hold protests and do that, but you don't have to be violent. I mean, there are things that, we've seen goons doing, burning up business places. I've also seen this kind of thing happening in Bangladesh. They've destroyed the palace of their Prime Minister Sheikh, and basically burnt so many things in our place, destroyed a lot of infrastructure. What they don't know is that the tax money that they give is the same money that is going to be used to repair the stuff. So they are going to pay for what they are destroying. And so would urge our young people, as if you have to go for demonstration, don't destroy people's property, because the people who have basically lived out their lives acquiring what they have, and then you just come and with a decision that is born out of rage and foolishness to some extent, you set on fire somebody's business and you throw an entire family back into poverty. That's not right. That is truly not right. And I would urge police also to exercise caution as they protect the demonstrators and as they protect the other people who are not demonstrating, because where your right ends, where my right begins. When you infringe on my rights, then your right comes to an end on that base. We also have rights on the same. The police have also condemned, the United States government has also condemned police brutality in the handling of this demonstration. The teachers union, KUPPET and NAT have come together, and now they are warning that they are going to go on a strike. This is pretty interesting. Okay, we strike. Let me ask you a question. Now, let's have a conversation, because this is very interesting. We have refused to be taxed, but we are demanding more money. So let me ask, so where is the more money supposed to come from? Is the government supposed to go for loans? You don't want loans. So what is supposed to happen? Interesting times we're living in. The back page of the Nation, bring back Kiama or face strike. The University of Nairobi chapter of the Academic Staff Union has come to the defense of suspended Vice Chancellor Stephen Kiama and issued a 7-day strike notice demanding his reinstatement. According to the union, the lack of transparency around the changes that saw the council appoint Professor Margaret Jesang as acting vice chair, the acting VC, has led to instability within the university. So the acting vice chancellor, now we have the union demanding the reinstatement of the one who was made to go home. Okie doke, the Star, very interesting. We have big battle as PSC restores scrapped civil servants parks. Tisk tisk. Pasaris, how I won battle with mental illness. And then we have something here talking about what nurses will take home under the new CBA. 4 dead, 2 missing after landslides hit villages in Baringo. And then at the back page, we got sports, basically focusing on what's happening in the Olympics. Athletics failures to make Team Kenya drove Yavi to Bahrain, while Yavi opted to compete for Bahrain over home country Kenya. And you know what? She won. So we are mistreating our athletes, and because of their passion, they want to run, they want to do what they love doing, they end up running for other countries. So let's hope the incoming sports cabinet secretary Murkomen is going to make sure that sports actually becomes regains its glory, because there was a time Kenya, anytime you mention Kenya, the first thing people thought about was athletics. We were good in boxing, we were good in the races and all that, and now Yego came in, we are good also in javelin. Omanyala is doing well in the fast races, even though he didn't do very well in the Olympics. So we've become a sports powerhouse. It's only in football that I must say we should take our school teams there. Anyway, in a couple of minutes we'll have a conversation about some of the things that are happening today. We are going to find out what the Gen Zs are thinking about the entire thing. What next, Gen Zs? That's our topic for today. What next, Gen Zs? Let's take a short break, and when we come back with the conversation. Seen that being done. We've seen a couple of things the president doing, like stopping the employment within the government sector, so that to ensure that we don't increase the wage bill to a crazy level. So a lot of things have been done that had been demanded. And I believe that from the time the Gen Zs started doing their thing, until 2027 and going forth, our leaders would have known that the people have power. This was not very evident. It was on paper, yes, but it was not evident when it comes to experience. maybe our generation, we never push the government to that point whereby the leaders know that they have to listen to us. Our members of parliament get to hiding when they don't do what the citizenry or the people they represent tell them to do in the House, and we pay them to basically represent us there. And so this is going to be a very unique time for this country, a unique time in a positive way as a result of the Gen Z's demonstrations. They've done some things, and we've been able to achieve some changes. And I believe this cultural change should persist. It should not be something that is just now, and then after that, we go back to bad manners. It should remain, so that leaders know they are representatives of the people. I know there are some decisions that have to be made by the leaders that are painful to the people for the betterment of the country. But at the same time, like the president said at the beginning when the demonstration started, a lot of what is happening has to do with the poor communication by the government to the people on what they're doing. Because there are things that have been done. Give credit where it's due. And there are bad things that have happened. And we should chastise them for that. But there was no proper communication from the government to its people that this is what we are doing, this is what we are doing, and this is why we are doing. And so by the time the Gen Zs are going to the streets, there are so many things that have been passed by the government and by this particular regime that the people were literally shouting at the top of their breath that these things are not going to be beneficial for them. And so changes have taken place. And when we come to today's demonstration, the million-dollar question that I ask is, what is the objective? What do the Gen Zs want to achieve with today's demonstration? It's still not clear. What do they want to achieve? At least the first part of the demonstration was very clear. The objective was very clear, that we don't want the finance bill. The finance bill is done away with. And more conditions come. We don't want, send your cabinet home because they're incompetent. So the cabinet goes back home. Send the inspector general. We cannot work with, the current inspector general. And Koome again is sent packing. So one of the things I would like to know, even as James walks into the studio, is what is the objective of this? What is the objective of this demonstration? What do they want to achieve? When will they know they have achieved what they want to achieve? Because as a matter of fact, politicians have gotten into the mix. Civil societies, the likes of Boniface Mwangi, have gotten into the mix. And we have people now who are not necessarily fighting for the good of the country, but they are fighting for their pockets and they are fighting for their careers. Because if they don't make noise the way they are making, they don't get the ching-ching. And there's a lot of donors who are giving out money to individuals like this, individuals who make noise, individuals who go out and project themselves as people who are fighting for the rights of the innocent people. So there's a lot of money in this. It's a big business. It's a big business, and probably it's bringing in foreign exchange. You never know. But there are people who are benefiting out of this, and the young man who has become like the spokesperson of the entire thing, I can tell you that he's one day going to end up in parliament. Don't be surprised if in 2027 you don't see him. Actually, be surprised if in 2027 you don't see his name in a ballot somewhere, or even before 2027, him being nominated by, one of the political parties to vie in one of the vacant seats. So there's a lot of moving of chairs that is going on as politicians and individuals with obvious interests position themselves to be able to undertake whatever it is that they want to undertake. James is already with me in the studio right now. He's coming to sit, and then we'll have this conversation. We'll have this conversation as the Gen Zs threatened to do ile kitu today. Welcome, James.
Apologies, I'm a little bit late.
Yes.
Traffic snag hapa na pale.
Ulikuwa ukifly. You wondered whether you had first gone to see whether the Gen Zs were ready for what they were doing before you come here.
I have fielded so many calls in the morning, some long enough about the situation in town. So many friends encouraging me to show up. And I told them I have a morning show that I have to attend to before I can manage to get to town. Some of them are already in town.
Some of them are already in town?
Yeah.
Waiting to hold. Let me ask you, in the first demonstration, and that's something probably you can explain to us because you're part of this team. In the first demonstration, the objective was the finance bill to go. Then you came up with, added conditions. Cabinet has to go. The Inspector General has to go. They went. What is the objective of today's?
Maybe I should start with an introduction of myself so that the viewer understands who they're dealing with and how far I have come. My name is James Mulamba. I'm a political activist. I have been since 2012. Well, I was still in high school back then, but I was interested in governance, in where our taxes go and how that money is recycled back to us. Because actually the government is a big insurance company. It's a big arambe that we contribute to almost every other time through VAT, customs duty, excise duty, through levies, through fines. So we give money to the government and it's supposed to plow back that money to the citizens through infrastructural projects and through social welfare programs.
Nakusikia ukihema. We have our guy here anaitwa Alan. Alan is the one who does most of the things in the studio. Alan, if you don't mind, please get James a glass of water. At least atahema vizuri. Thank you.
It's part of the rage that I've held pent up for close to 10 years now. So I had interest in governance at such a young age. And I noticed that in other countries that probably we would say first world countries, some would call them civilized countries, leadership and governance there means something different from what leadership in Africa means. Leadership in Africa basically means get yourself to an office that you would pilfer and steal as much funds as you can. Politics in Africa is a get-rich-quick scheme. And we have so many graduates out here, and I would say, who are willing to kill to get to a political seat because they understand.
They're willing to kill because in their mindset, in their psyche, this is the quickest way to get rich.
Yeah, because we have seen time and again, innumerably, that politicians have always gotten away with graft in this country. That you could not explain how, for example, say, CS Alice Wahome and Kithure Kindiki amassed close to 100+ million shillings in less than 2 years in office. And they were unable to gather this amount of money over their 30 years of work experience. Alice Wahome has worked for 35 years before I think she got into government. And she could not manage to pull this amount of money. Then she's pulling this amount of money in 2 years. That tells you that there's too much money in government. And I mean, if this guy...
They gave the explanation like Kindiki said. I think Kindiki was running from 400 and something to 500 and something. And he said, the practice is still going on and being high profile a legal exercise. Now, despite the fact that he's out, he has his partners. They're still making money, and that's how they were able to make money. Alice Wahome, I don't. Maybe that's tricky.
You see, Aden Duale also said he made his millions from selling a book. How many people have sold books out here? And how much money do books make? Macmillan and Long publishers have been selling books for an entire curriculum to an entire country, but they haven't made that money.
Yes.
If there is some prudent way of investing money that we don't know and they do know, how about they help this country invest money in whatever they're investing,
yes,
so that we can recoup our money in millions?
Yes.
I mean, we have a problem with our debt. If they know where we can invest our money and recoup millions in 2 years, then we would be willing, and we should be willing to put all our monies there as a country.
Yes.
We have politicians who always get away with graft.
Yes.
And I think money buys justice in this country. That we have an ESCC that is supposed to oversight,
yes,
not actually oversight, is supposed to gather evidence and initiate prosecution of public servants and state officers who appear to have corruption allegations or cases against them. But then these cases die prematurely. They get to court, but they are never convicted. So they have already understood that in this country, as long as you have money and you have your ways around power, you will always get away with graft.
Yes.
So everyone wants to get into government because they have seen there is no precedent whatsoever to jail anyone in Kenya for graft-related cases. So they have every motivation to get into government, pilfer our funds, then huko mbele itajipanga.
So today, what is the game plan for today? What is the main objective?
So, as I was saying, I have been pushing for a better governance for a long time. And it was hard to bring this to digital media and also mainstream media because it was giving a lot of audience to the already established politicians.
Yes.
And as an activist trying to push this message on, say, Instagram or TikTok was hard, they consumed different content.
Yes.
So I was pushing this on my X account and on my Facebook account. If you go
You're one of the people who've paid for actually, the police have handled you.
Yeah.
Because of pushing this kind of narrative.
Yeah, I have been
handled or mishandled you.
Mishandled by police, by politicians who've sent goons against me, even before the current protest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You had the politicians sending goons against you?
I have been at loggerheads with several MPs. I've been at loggerheads with my MCA. He's actually from the UDA party, and we don't see eye to eye. And
which area which hood do you come from?
Oh, I don't come from around Nairobi, but I work and stay around Nairobi. I come from Kitui County.
Oh, okay.
Kitui West constituency, Kwa Mutonga Kithumula ward. Yeah.
Kwa Mutonga Kithumula ward.
Yes.
I need to introduce you to a lawyer from that area called Morris Kimuli.
Yeah.
Kimuli is a good brain, and he can be able, together I know he has a mind and a heart like what I'm picking from you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's been a struggle for years. So getting this message out there has been stifled for years.
Yes.
We are so happy that we finally got a platform in the entire country that wants to listen to us. They want to, the Kenyan citizens want to understand what is it that we are pushing for.
Yes.
What is it we have been pushing for? Because and a revolution is not a one-time thing. It's been a marathon all through.
Yes.
And I was happy when the protest began in June,
Yes.
prompted by the finance bill. So some thought, and some still think that the protests were against the finance bill. But to be honest, to be frank, they were never about the finance bill. Yes, it was a trigger. It was a trigger we needed to actually bring the country to understand that we've been governed badly and we need to have better governance.
Yes.
But this has been simmering in the background for years. So
it was just, the finance bill was the trigger.
Yeah.
But the real thing was governance.
Yeah, we have had bad governance all through. I think we would say that in the history of the presidents we have in this country, we've almost gotten and stand Emilio Mwai Kibaki, His Excellency, the late, may God rest his soul in peace, but he was better than the rest. He still failed at uniting the country without the tribal lines, because he was still tribal to some point, but in almost every other thing he achieved.
You know the strangest thing, because when Kibaki ruled this country, I was actually working.
Yeah.
Kibaki only achieved the praise that we hear about today after he had gone.
Yeah.
When he was in power, he was being criticized left, right, and center. But after he, exited the power and Uhuru Ruto came into the play, that's when people started saying Kibaki was a very good president for this country. But when he was president, people didn't say that. So chances are, maybe once some of our leaders are gone, we'll be saying he was a better president.
I understand. I have had such a proposition before, but you see, even during Kibaki's time, first I should say that almost everyone is criticized.
Yes.
They even criticized the Son of God, Jesus himself.
Yes.
As holy, as righteous, as complete as he was. Malcolm X has been criticized. Martin Luther King Jr. has been criticized. Barack Obama, one of one of the good presidents America has had, probably in the same conjunction with President Abraham Lincoln and so on, have also received their fair share of criticism. I think we as people are inherently critic. So it's possible to criticize a good person, but then it takes bad leadership to expose what good leadership is. The current government that we have, I would say, that has not departed from the Uhuru Ruto thing we know, because Ruto is still Uhuru, Ruto is still part of that. It's a political game they've played us, and I don't know where they differed, but what I know is Uhuru and Ruto are not so different. Maybe their temperament and their way of expressing themselves, and how Uhuru is more empathetic than Ruto, probably that. But for every other thing they stand for, I think it's all the same. So we already have an impression of who Ruto is, even before he got to the presidency, even before he got to the deputy presidency. So we know who we're dealing with. You cannot expect oranges from an apple tree. So that is the problem we have, that we know these people, we knew their graft allegations, lisemalo lipo, and we decided to ignore that, saying almost every politician in Kenya is corrupt. So what's special about him? And now that probably is been implicated in more graft cases and allegations doesn't mean he's too bad. You see, we have had a bad blueprint for leadership, that we think corruption is normal. He has also been implicated in incitement, in pushing for tribalism and tribal divisions, because that is how they have been mobilizing over years. That has not changed. He's been implicated in the witnesses, the disappearance of witnesses, and the ICC case, though was somehow politicized, because I know there are so many people who are culpable to be prosecuted before the ICC court, but were never prosecuted. So we know these people, but we decide to shut a blind eye to this. Then when things go full circle and we get the fruits of what we voted for, well, I didn't vote for him, but they're like half the population supported him. They understood and they really gulped into his populism ideas, because there's a difference between leadership and populism. He rode on populism, still rides on populism. That's why he's always a top class campaigning. He's campaigning even when he's president. And it's funny. And we knew that this is the guy we're pushing on the front line, but people still pushed for him. And it had people who genuinely wanted good leadership like me. I knew there could be a different blueprint for a different leader who is incorruptible, who's less tribal, who values meritocracy, and who puts the country before him.
Where are they? So, what I would like to know from you, so, what exactly do you want?
See, what we've been pushing for years that has been stifled by reformists.
Yes.
I would hate to use this platform to probably malign some people, but to be honest, some of the people who've been given too much audience are pushing for reform.
Yes.
And that is why Kenyans are asking, why do we keep asking for more? Because we should not have asked for anything in the first place. Kasmuel Makoure, Wanjira Wanjiru, Masita Rus, and other Gen Zs have been given too much of a platform to probably, I would say, dialogue with the government, because whatever they have been doing has been dialoguing with the government. And we told them, wait, we did not hear the streets so that you can dialogue with the government. Because
So they're not speaking for you?
No. Personally, they're not speaking for me, because I would say whatever they're doing is negotiating with the government, and then they have for years, for the weeks and for the months.
Then what are they negotiating with the government for?
So they think,
positions or goodies?
I think the idea of good governance, according to them, is probably prompting and pushing the current leadership that we have to achieve probably perfection, which they cannot be. You cannot push an imperfect being into perfection. So that is why they add, and they thought that if they gave demands about maybe a reformed police sector, demands about how a cabinet should look like, demands about how tax laws should look like, demands about how accountability should look like. They expected that by pushing that, the current president, the current administration would listen to them and would heed to their call for maybe better governance and decide to change. You see, if I'm bad, I'm bad. There is no in between, and you can't change me. Cain was bad. Cain in the Bible was bad, and God knew he was redeemable. There are people.
Are you saying the current regime is irredeemable?
Yeah, they are irredeemable.
So if you remove the current regime, which regime do you put in place that is not corrupt? Which regime?
There isn't a shortage of Kenyans out here who can lead with meritocracy, who understand why we do not need corruption at all, who understand that we need a united country.
Are they in positions of power today?
Some are not in positions of power, but some are. Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but I am yet to see, because I've seen leaders like you, I've seen young people come up and really burning with passion for change, burning with passion for reforms. But when they got into parliament, I couldn't tell the difference between them and the people they found there, that they wanted to go out and change.
I have the same sentiments about Jaguar. I have the same sentiments about Mohammed Ali, the MP for Nyali. I have the same sentiments for Jalango. I know some get in there and get co-opted into the bad system of governance, but we still have examples of leaders who, to their own credit, have remained passionate, have remained firm and steadfast in the quest for good governance.
Like who? Give me an example of one.
I think some of them have been stifled by their parties, so that they have their stance as a person, but their parties muffle them because they belong to a certain political outfit that needs them to conform to a certain narrative. But we have Otiende Amolo. Some would say Babu Owino to an extent. We have, let's say, and there are few. That's why I can't quite get them into my head. I think Otieno Kajwang. We have them, but you see, we have out of 10 leaders, with 2 good and 8 bad.
You mentioned somebody like Babu Owino. Babu Owino is my friend. Yeah. But if you put Babu Owino as the measurement of good leadership and moral, I am very, very, very sure that a huge number of, a huge percentage of Kenyans would tell you no.
Yeah.
Because if you look at, question is, even what he's doing right now, is he doing it for the good of country or for his good? Because it's been said, it's been alleged, he wants to ascend to a certain position in the party.
Yeah.
And for him to get to that position in the party, there's a certain posturing that he has to take. And that's why he's taking such a posturing. So, quality of leader, questionable.
Yeah. So, as I've said before in other platforms, I will still say here that we have a problem as a country because we do not have political parties. The current political parties we have are shops and kiosks for certain individuals, I would say.
Yes.
That they are at their beck and call.
Yes.
That they would use these political parties to negotiate for whatever they want from the government.
Yes.
If you look at countries that have made strides in democracy, like the American nation and the United Kingdom, they have two major parties, whose founders are no longer in control, whose founders are nowhere to be seen.
Basically, they are guided by certain principles.
Yeah. So we have parties out there that should be our benchmark. Parties that have an ideology, have a principle that they subscribe to, and the masses understand. When I'm voting for a Republican, I'm voting for him or her because they stand for certain principles, for certain ideologies. Then you come to this country where we have, I say, more than, I think, 50 political parties, but each one of them stands for nothing. But they have visions, missions, ideas, mottos, slogans written all over, but they don't stand for that. I mean, they say X meaning Y. See, for example, the ODM party. If they take me to court for this, I'm ready for this suit.
Yes.
But they pretend to fight for Kenyans. But when they were given, when they negotiated for a chance to form government in, say, 2007, 2017, 2023, they quickly took up the stride. So what do they stand for? They already knew, for example, Raila Odinga had already told Kenyans why not to vote for Kibaki in 2007, and why not to vote for Uhuru in 2017, why not to go for Ruto in 2023. So what now changed that they now ascribe to the manifesto of the Kenya Kwanza government? How do they now love bottom-up, which they hated, which they have abhorred, detested, loathed to their last breath, and made it their business to remind Kenyans that this president that you put, this presidential candidate that you clapping for now will finish you up, that this current manifesto that you're being hyped up about will bring you to tears. So what has changed that now that they have been offered positions in governance, folks like Wycliffe Oparanya, who at one point went on record to say that if Kenya Kwanza was the only option to join government, he is unwilling to join Kenya Kwanza. What has changed now that Joho, I don't call these people honorable because to me there is nothing honorable about them. Now that he said he is not willing to talk to William Ruto, and William Ruto is a thief, and he has said that repeatedly. So what has now changed? Is William Ruto now clean? Is he now no longer a thief? Is there need to talk to William Ruto now? Because as a cabinet secretary, if approved and appointed, he will be sitting in cabinet almost every other month. So he will have to talk to the president. So what has changed now? So these political parties we have in Kenya stand for nothing.
So, back to my question. When will you say that we have been successful? When what happens?
Success will come with a different CEO.
Your objective is regime change.
Yeah.
Ruto out of office.
Out of office. Ruto is an institution. Some view Ruto as the president, but he's an institution. There is what he stands for. President William Ruto was given a golden opportunity in 2022 by Kenyans who probably believed in him, or should I say by Smartmatic, to serve Kenyans. And he had a golden opportunity to unite this country past tribal lines. He had a golden opportunity to transform every part of Kenya, as the Constitution deems this in Article 27, I think, that every Kenyan is equal before the law and they have a right to be served equally, they have a right to benefit equally from the government, from all regions. He had a good chance to deal with the problem and the menace of corruption once and for all. he had a golden opportunity to institute meritocracy in government. But he squandered all this for what? He values cronyism, favoritism. He knows the nepotism in these ministries, but he still puts people in there by favoritism himself. So it is no surprise if they do the same. They are actually learning from him. So when I say Ruto is an institution, is that he stands for tribalism. He stands for corruption. He stands for favoritism. He stands for what we do not want. He stands for unconstitutionalism because he has flaunted almost every article of the Constitution. Say Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, Article 27, Article 21. He's Article 33, Article 34. He's broken almost every other article and every other chapter of the Constitution. I should not even mention chapter 4 about leadership and integrity. There is nothing close to integrity about him. So those that serve under him understand this, that this is what we have as a benchmark, and he is not going to push for our prosecution because we understand that political graft cases have been politicized in this country. So if you know that when you toe the line, the president is not going to send the DCI and the EACC against you, and you understand that he's part of whatever you're pushing, so he's not going to go against you. So you behave in a certain manner. You pilfer our funds with impunity. You know you're not going to be taken anywhere, and that case will be terminated before it gets to court, because we've seen the withdrawal of cases politicized. They were arrested and they were supposed to be prosecuted because there was evidence, but such cases have been withdrawn.
Let me ask you, of the leaders that we have, do you think if Raila took over presidency, he would be a good president?
No.
Do you think Kalonzo Musyoka, if he took over the leadership, he would be a good president?
I think, I would say with Kalonzo, I would take a chance, a 40% chance. Yeah.
But he's been in the system from ways back, has shown from, if you look at his track record, he has shown that he is not a person who can be trusted to make the decision when the decision needs to be made. He basically, who else?
See, the problem with Honorable Kalonzo, there's something honorable about him, quite because he's a senior counsel, because he's a diplomat, and because he stands for peace. And he's pushed for that even in 2007. But what doesn't really get to Kenyans and what really hacks them is his, say, for example, unsteadfastness, that he is not firm. He's not, some would say he's not decisive, not my words. He's not decisive, he's not firm, and that he flops. He flip-flops from time to time. Currently, he's supporting what we are doing because he understands we are clamoring for better governance. I don't know if he's about to change that stand in future. He probably offered a better chance in government. But I think he's not going to do that because he was offered, I think, the Attorney General position. I would say I have sources that told me he was being offered the CS for EAC and ASAL areas position so that he could give to whoever he deems. See, that's how our politics works, that it's negotiations left, right, based on how your political party has political clout. So you would influence decisions in government, even when not sitting in government. So I hope he shows Kenyans that he's steadfast, that he's firm enough, because that has been actually his greatest undoing. There is almost nothing else that Kenyans can pin on Kalonzo, apart from his indecisiveness. Because
and for you to be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, to be the president of a country, you cannot give that to a person who you cannot make that decision. And so Kalonzo, you would give maybe
40%.
Which other leader is there that?
You see, if I hate to be popularizing them, but I think There are Kenyans who still think that if Otiende Amolo was given a chance, he would make a good president. There are Kenyans who still think that Okia Omtata, if given a chance, would make a good president. It's just, they have a right to think so.
Yes, they have.
There are Kenyans who still think, probably maybe say who.
From the people you're now interacting with, because the Gen Zs are going out there, as you say, you want regime change. As you're seeking for regime change, you obviously in your mind have, we are going to change the regime, and these are the people that we would love to have there.
To be honest, we have we've not pushed that to a conclusion or to finality that when Ruto goes, this is the next person we should have as president. We would want them to actually sell themselves, because politics is bringing yourself to the world. We need to know you and what you stand for. There are so many leaders out there, some even serving as MPs, some serving as senators, some serving as governors, who could make better presidents. And all of them need to up their game. They need to show us what they're made of. They need to show us why we should trust them, which positions they have held before in leadership that have given them a good repute, good enough to be our CEO. Because as Gachagua has reminded us, this country is a company and we are shareholders. And I need to correct him that the Kenyan citizenry is the shareholders, not them who funded for the political campaigns. We are the shareholders. Without us, there is no country. Without us, there is no government. The people are the government. The people are the shareholders. The people are the owners of this country. So if this country is a company, we need a different CEO. A CEO has a deputy CEO, has directors under him, has managers, has branch managers, regional managers, and so on. So we would say that the president is the CEO, the senators are managers, the MPs are also managers, and so on. So we need a different company. A company virtually is an entity that you can only point to, but you cannot touch. So we need a company that has a different CEO and different managers around them. If it is possible, I would actually push for the dissolution of parliament, because as it is, everyone knows it's unconstitutional, and that has not been.
What, the parliament?
Yeah, the parliament is unconstitutional.
What makes parliament unconstitutional?
Because it does not fulfill the 2/3 gender principle. Yeah, so the parliament should have already been dissolved, or the president should have already found a way to work around this. I heard he wrote a memo about how to go about this. They were supposed to distribute this, say, around 41 positions that are missing in parliament to certain political parties. I think they have not come to a conclusion on that. I would not actually fault him on that too much, because the problem is us. We as Kenyans and as Africans have not really and it's not actually an African problem. I think it's a worldwide problem that we've not embraced female leadership as we should have, and women leadership. Women are just as good leaders as men are. So if we had voted more women into offices, say MP offices or senatorial offices, we would not have this current predicament. But we have this predicament that we don't really quite say believe in women leadership. That if a governor, if we have two gubernatorial candidates and one is female and one is male, irrespective of the track record and the legacy that female has, most would prefer the male character. I don't know why, but it's some patriarchy we have in us that we should get out of our minds. And it spans out across both genders, that even the female themselves would prefer a male candidate over a female candidate.
So why not give them?
We need to change that mentality. We need to do more civil education. We need to push this to everyone out there, that females make just as good leaders as men do, so that we can have this problem sorted all through, because it's always sorted through appointments. It shouldn't be through nominations in parliament. Women should actually be voted in this country. We should actually have a female president if possible.
True, I agree. You've talked about meritocracy. If the citizenry don't, and I'm speaking from a different acting as the devil's advocate here. If the citizenry themselves are not willing, they don't feel comfortable to vote in women, even the women themselves are not comfortable to vote their own, why push it down their throat? Let it take, gradual, as we get there. Even Western countries, democracies like the States that have been around for hundreds of years, are not yet there. Don't you think we're trying to push something in without allowing it to go through the processes it needs to go through?
See, we have trusted processes before and they have always failed us. Morgan Freeman, the great American actor, is still a mentor, said that if we want to bring an end to, say, racism in America, we should stop talking about it. That the best way to kill something is to talk less about it. Talk less about it. If we talked less about independence, if we talked less about a 9-tribal country, if we talked less about good governance, if we talked less about meritocracy, we would not achieve it. If we talked less about, if the reformers, the Christian reformers, talked less about the reform that was needed in Christianity, we would not have the Protestant branch of Christianity today. Yes. So we have to give audience to this. We have to give it a lot of importance. We have to talk about it. We have to actually push for it, as if our lives are pegged on it. Yeah. We have to push for good governance. We have to push for female leadership, so that this gets out there and sticks in the mind of the electorate, that a female leader is as good as a male leader. If we stop talking about it, this will leave our minds. If we stop talking about independence, we would never have gotten to this point. We would have trusted the whites to give independence to us, and they would have probably taken a longer time after they've pilfered our mineral resources and left us bare. So we have to talk about it. We talked about, the Americans talked about slavery and pushed for it for years, actually for close to a century, I think. And that's how Abraham Lincoln took up the mantle. If our people are passionate about something and they push for it and they are incessant and don't stop at whatever chance, they will get what they want. So we have to push for good governance, and we have to push for the public to understand that they can as well vote in female leaders, and they would make just as good leaders as the men. If a female leader has some corruption allegations about her, there's nothing new there. We have male leaders who have graft allegations left, right, and center. If a female leader has, say, for example, bedroom matters problems, and for example, say, relationship issues, that is not a new thing in the male dominated sector. If, say, she has a sex scandal, it's nothing new. We have seen that in the male side, and we've actually made love with it. We've been okay with that. So why are we so hard on our female leaders and so easy on our male leaders? If a man can make a mistake, a woman can also make a mistake. We are all human. There's nothing so different from us.
I hear you. Finally, if you don't achieve this today, what's the plan? Today you do it, and then?
See, I actually thought that the current reawakening we have politically as a country would take close to 100 years from today. And I was willing to live this fight my entire life. I was willing to struggle for it till my last breath. So I am actually pleased that it came this happy, and they gave us the trigger that we needed. See, a time bomb has a trigger, and actually a bomb, a grenade, a tear gas, all of them have safety pins. They have a trigger. A gun has a trigger. So they triggered us at the right moment. And there couldn't be another right moment than this. We are going to push for better governance. We are going to push to have the CEO resign, because a resignation would be the most peaceful way to transit government, and would be the most prudent way to have a transition of power. we don't really want a coup because they would term it as a civilian coup if we decide to storm to State House. But if he doesn't resign today, I think he leaves us with no option. And some of us are willing to fight for this till probably our last breath, however long it takes. We would have another nane if today doesn't work, going into the future, to the end of our lives. I mean, Martin Luther lived to his last breath fighting for a better country. And we have seen that from Malcolm X too. We've seen that from Mahatma Gandhi too. And we are willing to walk the talk.
If you are appointed today cabinet secretary,
I would not want to be appointed as a cabinet secretary today with this current government because I have told you that the fish rots from the head. We have the problem at the top. So as a cabinet secretary, I would be a puppet to this government. I would have to dance to their tune. So it would look like I've had some big talk over years because I've been doing this for close to 10 years. I would have had some big talk like most leaders do, then get into a system that co-opts me in because I am faced with 8 bad leaders and 2 good leaders. So I would be in the minority side. So I would have directors beneath me, I would have ministry heads beneath me who are as bad as the current system. So I would be walking into a system that I do not belong in and they would reject me. So they would have to push me to conform, like you beat up iron, hot iron into shape. So I would not want to be put in a cabinet position today because I would be a puppet to the president and to the bad system. The political system, the social welfare system, the legal system, the economic system, the electronic system and the security system in Kenya is too bad. It's too irredeemable. It has to have a different head atop, different cabinet secretaries and different ministry heads and different state officers in almost every other parastatal.
Are you willing to wait until 2027?
Nope. Because we have seen...
Isn't that a coup?
It's not an option to wait till 2027 because we've seen in this country time and again that when we wait for elections to think that we will effect a change, we are basically wasting our time. We're trying to get...
So constitutionalism doesn't matter no more. Because you push the president here, you say he's raping the constitution, but you're willing to rape the constitution and you accuse him of this, but you're willing to do it.
No,
because there's a percentage of this country, as much as you have a right to what you believe and to what you stand for, there's also a huge percentage of the country that may not be as loud that back the president, and they are saying, as evil as he is, he was elected, we have a constitution, let's change him in 2027. That's the constitutional way. Because we set a precedent right now and we overthrow a president through unconstitutional means, then the next president, what will stop somebody else from doing the same thing? So we can't rape the constitution and we say, no, he's raping bad, our rape of the constitution is better.
So you see, jurisprudence and interpretation of the constitution is left to say it's subjective.
Yes.
And my interpretation of Article 1 is that Article 1 gives me the right as a citizen because I understand I have a right, I have a responsibility, I have a duty.
Which you exercise through?
The right I'm exercising right now is anchored in Article 37, read in conjunction with Article 1. Article 37 gives us the right to picket, to demonstrate, to assemble and present petitions to public authorities for things that we need done. And pushing the president to resign is constitutional because the constitution does not specify under what circumstances the president should resign. It just says that he can resign. And to interrupt you, on Article 1 gives us the right to directly represent ourselves because the Constitution sees representation as a two-way thing, that we can we can indirectly represent ourselves by electing leaders into office, but we can also directly represent ourselves. The Constitution does not say exhaustively what we should represent ourselves directly in saying or in doing.
I know this is a conversation we can continue until the cows come home. With that, we thank you very much for coming. We'll definitely have this conversation again as this goes forth. And you know, leaders start appearing in this quote leaderless movement because you know, nature abhors a vacuum. One way or the other, leaders will just appear. And I hope that you find yourself up there, passionate as you are, would like to see things happening, not just in national, but also in the county levels. So with that, we got to bring down the curtains on the show. Do have yourself a lovely day, and keep safe, please. Keep safe. Make sure you don't go into areas that you might get yourself in danger. Do have yourself a lovely day. God bless you. Thank you once again.
Thank you.